Welcome to episode 24. Today we're talking about perceptions in relationships and the types of perceptions that we hold with family members, with friends, and in relationships and romantic relationships with our partners, and how these perceptions can go on to cause our own behaviors and reactions, and only to be able to prove yourself right. So we may have a perception about something or a belief about something, and we look for ways to make that come true. So in this episode, we're going to uncover some of these perceptions and how we can grow from them and beyond them to have more meaningful relationships with whoever it might be with. And in addition to that, have a more meaningful relationship with ourselves. And make sure you listen all the way to the end for a fun but possibly a little bit confronting tip to help you to uncover some of those perceptions that you might have. Our subconscious beliefs are built, gained, downloaded in the first 8 years of our life, and there's some research and scientists that actually say, including Bruce Lipton, he actually feels that most of those beliefs are downloaded within the first 2 years, starting in utero. What does that actually mean? So in utero, we are feeling, sensing the emotions that our mother is experiencing, and we are also feeling those. We're also getting the exchange of blood and nutrients from our mother in the womb and receiving all of that information from those cells. Those perceptions, those beliefs are created from the moment of conception. So we're downloading perceptions and our beliefs from the moment of conception through the information that we're receiving through our mother's blood. And right up to and through the age of 7 or 8. Why 7 or 8? So this is when, in psychology, research has shown that this is when our analytical mind starts to become active. Up to that point, we're simply receiving information and storing it and building a level of identity. After that point, we are looking for means and ways to reinforce the beliefs that we have to be true. So we're looking for ways to prove those beliefs to be true. So for example, if you have the belief that everyone outside of your home is scary and mean, you're going to seek out ways to prove that to be true. So you may have encounters with individuals who are scary and mean. What that might look like when you play it out. When you're walking home in the evening by yourself after work, instead of walking along the main road, you might cut through an alleyway, and in that alleyway there's somebody there, and the way that you're behaving, or potentially it's the person there, may approach you in a confrontational way. This leading to you being proven correct that people outside of your home are mean or evil if something goes on to happen. So you're just reinforcing and looking for ways to reinforce things that are within your subconscious programming. We do this all of the time, even when we meet new people. There's a very well-known in human behavior, the first 7 seconds is actually what creates the image of and information around who you are when you meet someone. So those first 7 seconds are incredibly important when meeting someone new. After that, they've already framed a sense of you. Now, I've done some more broader reading into that, and there is an energetic piece that comes into it. So they're feeling into the whole energy, your whole energy field. When your energy field interacts with theirs, you're sensing the information about them before you even had an opportunity to speak. That aside, we're still creating perceptions. And an example that I'd like to share, so in the dating world, it's something that I've actually been experiencing quite a lot of, where guys have said to me that they think particular things about me. For example, that I miss my family and that I would want to move back home to London. And without the conversation around what I actually think and feel, about that situation based on their beliefs and their feelings around their family, that their family is a little bit far away from them, so they don't see them on a regular basis. And as a result, they miss their family and want to be closer to them. So they've assumed and created the perception of me, because my family is in the UK, that I must miss them and want to be with them more. Actually, I really love my family very, very dearly. And I feel like my relationship with my family is stronger that I live on the other side of the world. It's probably the first time I'm saying this out loud where they might actually hear it. So sorry, love you, but no. I did ask you to move to Australia. So those are perceptions that we are constantly creating about other people. Now, this can lead to breakdown in relationships, whatever those kind of relationships are, whether they're with your parents. So, and again, a perception that my mum used to have of me, actually, when I was in my 20s. I used to go to the pub a lot with my sister, and literally we'd go to the pub so we can be out of the house, and we'd have a glass of orange juice. Every now and again, it'd be an orange and vodka, but we'd just go and sit and chat and chill. And my mum used to get shitty with us because she had this perception that we were going to the pub and being, I guess, promiscuous. So maybe she was seeing from other parents or what she believed would happen in a pub, that we were going to the pub, getting chatted up and doing bad things with boys. And that was far from the truth. And on the occasion that she confronted myself and my sister, I actually said to her, I was like, you have no idea the sort of things that girls do when they're out and about. Just be happy that my sister and I are just going for a glass of juice or a vodka and a vodka soda, whatever it was. Just be happy that we're just doing that. Not to say there's anything wrong with those other things, but again, perceptions that I was always drunk and to an extent I went out, partied a lot through my 20s, but what that looked like for my mum and what that looked like for people in the community if they were to see that I was always out partying, and what perception that would create then of community to family. So there's so many perceptions that we are creating of others, trying to avoid others creating of us, that is it's just a big bloody mess. So how can we actually move out of perceptions and what we think to be true to a shared mutual version of reality where we are one person and another person, and we actually have an understanding or a bigger awareness that this is both of our truths? In a one-on-one relationship, whether that's with partner, whether that's with friends or family, whoever it is, in a one-on-one, super easy, talk. Just communicate with one another and ask questions. Now, the really, really big important part in having this conversation is being open-minded and curious. When we are having conversations with other people, the tendency is to be thinking about what we want to respond to them with in the information that they're sharing with you. So as an example, so I'm going to try and play two people here. So me over here, I might be explaining to you how my day was and how I had this terrible incident with somebody in the car. I'm driving down the road, and then there was somebody that cut me off and it shook me, and so on and so forth. This me is thinking, oh, actually, that reminds me of this other situation. You know, that reminds me of when I did blah, 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 or when this person ran in front of me and almost cut me off. So you can see already that me one is trying to have a conversation and share some information, but me two is already thinking about, and not necessarily even listening anymore, about their own experience of when that's happened to them, or something in their life where it's happened to them. How does this help or not help in having a conversation when we're trying to learn about each other? When we're trying to learn about each other, there's an aspect of wanting to build rapport that is played out in that scenario. So we're trying to find things that are similar to the other person and share that with them so that we can create rapport. It's like, oh, you had this, so did I. Oh, you grew up here, so did I. Oh, you drove a such and such car, so I drove something similar to that. So we're trying to find things where we are similar and things that we can connect on. But in doing that, we also limit the level of listening that we're doing. We limit the level of information and volume of information that we're actually taking in about the other person, potentially challenging our own beliefs around and perceptions around who that person is. So if Me Too had listened to Me One in depth and with complete focus, they may have learned that I was actually driving a little bit too fast. Me One was maybe switching songs on their iPhone, and that actually took my attention away. That Me One had only recently just got back into the car because after 6 months, because they'd had a fright 6 months ago and they were driving nervously and they were really scared, and now this has actually thrown them into an absolute tiz and they're not going to get back in the car again. If they'd listened, if Me Too had listened and asked questions about what had happened, why it happened, and if that person was okay. So that's one way to start being more curious about another individual in the moment and creating and, I guess, challenging our own perceptions around other people. One way to become more aware of our own perceptions, and this is the tip for you to take away today, and certainly try the listening and questioning a little bit more. But for today, one way to start to uncover some of those beliefs that you have, the perceptions that you have, is by writing down and reflecting on your parents' beliefs. When we reflect on our parents' beliefs and limiting beliefs and judgments in particular around things, all things life, work, money, wealth, prosperity, home, family, health, exercise, travel, all of those different areas, write all of those down. So do a column for each parent, and then have a reflect on how many of those you hold, because it's highly likely that you hold many. As I've already explained earlier, all of our subconscious programming comes from our parents, from our mother through from point of conception, but throughout with and around and from our family as we're growing up to that age of 8. And then we're continuing to reinforce those. So if we can look at our parents' limiting beliefs with a level of objectivity, because that's outside of us, and it's easier to look at things that are outside of us, and the self-judgment goes away, and then put a mirror to that, because I can promise you, because I've done this exercise many times before, I can promise you all of those things are sitting somewhere within you. And that's not a bad thing to raise your awareness around. When we raise our awareness, and I've said this many, many times, when we raise our awareness around things that are limiting our ability to achieve the things that we desire, it creates the opportunity for us to grow beyond them. So identifying the limiting beliefs that our parents hold and the judgments that our parents hold around all things life, we can start to reflect on and create supportive beliefs that are more aligned to the things that we do desire. So if a parent has a limiting belief that you've got to work 3 jobs to have any money, and your desire is to create wealth and attract abundance, identifying that and seeing and feeling where and what part of your life those beliefs exist in, we can create the opportunity to change them. And when we create the opportunity to change them, so whether that's through meditation, through NLP, hypnotherapy, working with me using Psych-K, through energetic work, when we change those subconscious beliefs, we start to become more in alignment with our conscious desires. So go grab a notepad and pen, put 2 columns down for respective parents, and write your list of limiting beliefs that your mum, dad have of all things life, with a high level of scrutiny, because then you can come back and have a look at which one of those apply to you, or which one of those you hold within you. That's all for today. Join me next week, where we'll be talking about the limitations of physical pain in our lives.